Hi everyone, we're sitting down here with Taunya Woods and we're going to talk about Nail the Numbers. On WEDO Pay It Forward, let's get into it. Welcome, I'm Milena Radakovic and this is WEDO Pay It Forward. Welcome back to WEDO Pay It Forward. I am so excited for you to hear my next guest, Taunya Woods. Taunya, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to hear your story.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Why don't you start with telling the audience a little bit about yourself and your business?
Okay, well, let's see. I am the CEO and founder of Nail the Numbers. It's a company that I started in 2014. Really, the core of our work is to help founders do just that, to nail their numbers, know their numbers, and really for this intention of building financially healthy businesses. That's the ultimate goal.
I love that. So I had the pleasure to hear her on stage when Alberta Women Entrepreneurs had their leadership summit, and it was absolutely incredible. I'm sitting in a table with all of these women entrepreneurs and women who are in business and looking to start their own business, and I could hear, so there were so many aha moments of people that the ladies were like, oh my God, that makes sense. It's so much easier. I love what you're doing. Tell me, how did you get into your business? Why did you start your business?
Well, the irony here today is that we're filming in Ramsey. I think we call this area Ramsey, right?
Yep.
And it was 15 years ago that at the top of this hill is where I had my business. At the time it was called Powerhouse International. It was a company that by most terms would be considered successful. I was generating a lot of revenue. We had a team of over 14 coaches. We had expanded across Western Canada. And at the time, especially here in Calgary, Alberta, I was a young woman supporting small business owners back in the early 2000s. That was unheard of. And really it was about supporting these small business owners through their growth. So in a resource city, right, being a young woman supporting small business, they were like, oh, what are you doing? But we had, because we had grown our revenue, we were getting a lot of media attention. So cover of National Post and Financial Times. And all of that to say that I felt like a hypocrite the whole entire time, because behind the scenes, I had been dying a slow death. I hadn't paid myself properly. I'd actually sold my home and put the equity into my business, always robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. Yeah. And so in 2009, the business actually went down. I don't know if you recall in Calgary, but 2008 was
I remember 2008, year. Yeah.
And so the business went down, and at the time I was pregnant. My partner had a Ducati dealership that also went down, and he was dealing with non-Hodgkin's stage 4 lymphoma.
I'm so sorry.
So all of that, it was probably one of the most challenging times in our lives. And so when the business went down, I took a little bit of time to regroup and recognize that in that process, when I finally kind of found my way again, I went back to my numbers and really tried to take a look and figure out where did all of this go so wrong. And so I studied financial modeling, and it was only then, after 12 years of being in that business, that I understood that my financial model had been broken the entire time. Wow. And the more money I made in business, the greater my net profit deficit was, which is why I present on this topic, bottom lines, Bermuda triangles, and budgets, because the vast majority of business owners have a financial model that doesn't necessarily ensure their financial success. So that was the catalyst. And so it's interesting being here, because that's where it all started, at the top of the hill, and now I'm here today to talk about what it's like when you get over that hurdle and over those bumps.
And from an experience share, I truly understand what you're talking about, because I went through a year in my business where our revenue skyrocketed, but I wasn't watching the cost sides associated with revenue. So you're thinking like, oh, you got all these sales and everything's going great, but I wasn't monitoring my operating costs and the project costs associated to it. And sometimes you need to slow down and figure out where's your sweet spot in the revenue side. That's what I found for myself.
Yes.
So
yes, and I think that ties in because the Bermuda Triangle, it's understanding your revenue streams, right? Getting crystal clear on what your top producers are, and then to your point, the costs, right? And the cost per revenue stream, and then your price point. So that tricky Bermuda Triangle. But I will say too, I think that in my experience, not only working with founders, but for me, back in that era of 2001 to 2009, I avoided my numbers. It wasn't a matter of, let's dial in. It was like, oh my gosh, let's actually pull them out from under the carpet and understand what a cash flow is and a balance sheet and an income statement. I was lost and I was overwhelmed, and quite honestly, I was carrying a lot of guilt and shame because I didn't understand it, but society was telling me that I was supposed to understand it because I was a business owner. So I never talked about it, and that's ultimately what caused the downfall.
Oh, I thank you for being so authentic and transparent. This is one of the reasons why we do this, because I think it's very important for our audience. So we have business owners, women who are wanting to start a business, so we can give them some great opportunities to learn from, serial entrepreneurs like yourself, and students who are for instance, in the STEM, not necessarily have a business background, but had a passion that they started their business. And if they're going through the business, here's a great takeaway. So thinking back on your experience, because I'm a big believer in experience share. I think this is how we learn better as a society, if we had people who were experiencing more and sharing that knowledge versus giving an advice.
Yeah.
If you look back to your journey, what could have been a point in that journey if you could have made something different that you might have not had to close the business? And maybe I'm putting you on the spot on that one.
No, but I think it's just that. It's about looking at the numbers and having the courage at that time to recognize that I needed to look at them, right? To actually pull them out and to be able to face the fear, right? Face that financial fear that I think so many founders, not just women, but so many of us face in this process, right? So don't worry, you're not making me cry. I almost went there, but yeah, I think it is just that. It's having the courage to face it. Nail the numbers. We say see differently, know differently, do differently, and it's based on 3 big epiphanies that I've had since that 2009 exercise where the business went down. It taught me about money management. In 2014, I started to recognize that I was repeating some of my patterns, behavioral finance,
right,
and then recognizing that I was passing those on to my daughter. So that was my big epiphany around, it's about money mindset and understanding where that programming comes from. And then in 2017, my partner left. And that was the third aha, which is really about motivation. Because it was then that I went back and I applied everything that I had been teaching. And I'm like, I have no choice but to get this figured out, right? So that I can make that money. So going back, I now recognize that money management in life and business, it's a trifecta. It's how you manage it. It's about understanding your relationship with money and where that came from, and then about doing differently, because that neuroplasticity and rewiring and reframing your relationship with money is about not doing the hard work. Everyone, we always talk about doing hard work all the time, but it's actually about doing the uncomfortable work.
Right.
Pulling out the numbers, calling CRA, dealing with your accountant, making the sales call, right? So see, no, do differently. Right. That's what I would go back and say.
And I'm sorry I didn't ask on a personal note, is your husband okay?
He actually, he left, but he is okay. He's 15 years cancer-free. He made it through, and he's a great dad to our daughter.
Oh, wonderful. So in your current business, you are an extremely successful entrepreneur. You're a great speaker. Tell me about the journey of starting a new chapter as an entrepreneur. What were some of the learnings that you took that you're now doing differently in this new chapter?
Oh, that's a big one. But I think first and foremost, I wouldn't, and maybe this is a woman thing, I wouldn't consider myself outrageously successful. I think like everybody, we're always learning, constantly learning. I don't have it all figured out. And I think that just knowing that has given me this permission to kind of relax along the journey. That even me as the money coach, it's not about having it all figured out. Actually, the more I'm in it, the more I realize I don't know and that I'll never have it all figured out. But other than that, when it comes to numbers, because that is definitely the sweet spot now, it's about recognizing that you have to go in knowing what your end goal is. You know, I think way too many business owners out there, especially women, we start a business because we want to change the world. We want to make an impact, right? And there has only been one entrepreneur that's been able to answer the question about what are you in it to build? Like, what are you in it to build? How much do you want your business to be worth, and by when? And I think that's the biggest piece of advice, because our business is our most valuable asset.
Right.
And nobody looks at it as an asset. It's actually in our investment portfolio. And when you go in intentionally to decide, I'm going to turn my asset into a company that's going to be worth X, all of the decisions that we make fall in line so that goal happens. And that one company that was able to answer that was Skip the Dishes. They knew exactly what they wanted out of it in 5 years, and they knew what they were doing on the other end of doing their exit. And they made it happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
So to our audience, I really like that. So if you're looking to start a business or in your business yourself, ask yourself that question. You know, what is, in a sense, your exit strategy, right? In layman's terms, what is your exit strategy? What are you trying to do? And maybe the exit strategy could be a pass on to a family member, or you want to get an IPO and you want to make it public, and or you want to sell it to a VC and maybe stay in it. So that's a very good tip to give.
And you know, sometimes too, I just want to say that sometimes smaller businesses, right, or sole proprietors think exit strategy and they start to get intimidated by that concept. This is just about, it doesn't need to be the IPO or the exit, but I can work with a bookkeeper that they've never thought that, oh, I can sell my business? I never even thought that I could sell my business. I never even thought that there was a book of business. So it's really just, what is your end goal?
Right.
Just like building a house.
Right.
We would never go and start building a hole in the ground, right, without knowing what we were building. 2 stories, 1 story, how many square feet? But way too many business owners we go out there and we start digging, not knowing what we're building, and unfortunately we dig the wrong way because we don't have that vision, we don't have that goal.
I love that. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for your time. This was great. One thing I keep forgetting to ask, who would you say is someone that you admire or has influenced you in your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, to be honest, I don't know if you get this a lot, but Sarah Blakely.
Oh, you know what? We did have somebody else say the same thing.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Starting zero to what it is that she's managed to build.
Yeah.
And just her authenticity and her salesmanship and her sportsmanship. And so I actually named my dog Blakely. Oh. So that I could, her model stays front and center every day. So
we had somebody else who said that, and I'm putting it out. Sarah, I did try to reach out to you. I would love to have you on stage on WEDO Canada.
Oh,
so hopefully you see this episode as well, because we'd love to have you across Canada speaking at the Women Entrepreneurship Day Summits. Thank you again.
Thank you.
How can the audience get a hold of you?
I would encourage you to reach out to me directly. That's probably the easiest way. And my email, I think, is down below, but Taunya@nailthenumbers.com, and happy to chat with you wherever you're at financially. There's always a way through. You just have to start with small baby steps.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more. Bye for now. If you're inspired and want to join a WEDO community, then go on WEDOCanada.com and also nominate and sponsor the next inspirational woman.